Hey folks, and welcome to Let's Talk. This is my show where I sit down with subject matter experts and or people well-versed in a certain topic in tabletop, and we editorialize, give our opinions, and generally discuss the comings, goings, and current hot news. Now, this isn't necessarily as G-rated as the rest of GMG, so viewer and listener discretion is advised. Hey everybody, welcome to Let's Talk. I'm here with Owen from Game with the Cooler, and we are back for another After Dark sit and chat, mostly because Owen's got to paint. I mean, it's not that many guys. It's, how many guys are you painting here? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 17?
Something like that.
he kind of counts as 2.
He has 2 people.
You decided to start an Ariadne army, or an attack army, the night before tournament.
As is tradition.
and then you swore to get a paint on time, too.
I mean, to someone who isn't going to know.
I guess that's fair. But you'd know, and now everyone else knows.
Well, no one knows when this is.
Everyone, well, it's tomorrow, and this is going up tomorrow. So everybody go to Owen's Facebook and demand to know. Just bomb his inbox.
Look, it's just one thick coat.
It is just one thick coat.
That's all he's getting, by the way.
He's getting a good solid layer of brown. It looks pretty good. It's not bad at all.
It does look pretty good. I like it.
Yeah, that's which one? The Gorgonta fur?
Yes.
Sweet. And actually, it's funny that you're using foundation paints because that segues nicely into our topic.
Hype.
We're talking about hype. We're talking about the internet hype machine. It's been on my mind lately because it's caused. So just to explain why it's been on my mind, I work following a lot of what's currently going on in wargaming, right? So like I am painting things that are being talked about or that are popular. I'm doing things that are following that discussion just because the nature of what I do follows those trends and patterns. And
I'm also here.
I consciously have to stop sometimes and do stuff just for me, right? Like that's a lot of the games you see like that I've written and stuff were a result of that, of me having to take a break and do something in tabletop that was just because I wanted to do it, not because it was what I was working on, or it was for the company I was working for, or whatever. And so yes, it's got on my mind because we just did a bunch of work for, what did we do? For Apocalypse. I made some videos for the contrast paints. And all through that, I had a good time, right? But I find myself, it's like hopping from rock to rock. You know, I'm going from thing to thing, kind of following this like popular curve. And I eventually come back around to stuff, but I noticed that the
magic's gone.
Wow, but even the people who are watching also seem to be doing that, and I'm curious about what that could be doing to the industry. And we had some case studies in point, like this one, the contrast paints, is a good example of taking something that already exists, painting with glazes, making a product to facilitate doing that. Because I'm not going to say it's not a good product. It is a good product for doing that specific thing. Especially if you've never done that specific thing before. Like Owen's never really painted with glazes before. And you picked this up like instantly. You know what I mean? Like it's super easy to do. It's intuitive. You can use your big dollar store brushes. Like look at that guy. There's
Dude,
like
I buy these in packs of 50.
I know.
This is all I paint with.
Only half the bristles are pointing the same direction. It's amazing.
You won't be able to see this. There are some stray bristles.
There's a lot of
I do need to make my way down to the Dollarama and buy myself another set of hobby brushes.
Some more high quality paintbrushes.
Look, it's none of them. I think this one is from a kid's toy.
They all literally
medium
have
round for medium details. Here's my thumb.
It's an old GW tank brush, basically. but they are very well designed for what they're supposed to be doing and who they're supposed to be sold to.
Yeah, but they're going to replace all normal paints.
They're not.
I heard that.
No, that's what I don't think GW ever
Just
said
one
that.
thick quote.
I think people said that. I think that wasn't necessarily GW, but that was the hype train leaving the station, right?
Yes.
And we've had, what else have we had recently that's on that same train? We've had Apocalypse. And then we have some like historical examples too. So of things that didn't quite deliver that. And I think the reason I want to talk about it is,
Get ready for some GW talk.
It's not just GW though.
I know it's not just GW.
Because it also relates really strongly, I think, to Kickstarter, is just how seductive the excitement of a large group of people can be. Right? Like how much you can be excited by something by other people also being excited about it. Because crowdfunding lives off that. Right? But here's for the second case study, I guess the contrast to the contrast paints that I wanted to talk about was what is it? October.
Yes. With our awesome orc releases that came out last.
Well, you're good, but you're a good one to talk about with this because you were literally building an orc army at the time.
Yep.
So
built an orc army.
So give me the history. What was October?
Basically, 8th edition has come out, and a lot of the major factions have started to get their attention that they're looking for. Orcs are a major faction in Warhammer 40k. Whether you look at the player base or the lore or the whatever, they are one of the one of the 4 pillars basically that make the game right now and ever. And they hadn't really been dealt with. They just kind of existed. They'd been touched on like all of the like lesser factions had been.
They were late in 8th edition codex though. They came out probably bottom third, maybe bottom quarter.
Right?
And just order of release.
The conversation around them was like, orcs are coming. They're coming back. This is the orcs is orcs. We're gonna have a whole month. We're gonna call it Orktober.
But I don't know who called it October first. Was it the fans,
or was it GW,
or was it GW? Because I don't think that all.
I don't think it actually matters.
It doesn't. Not for this conversation.
Because as soon as one says it and the other doesn't stop the other from saying it, then you might as well have said it.
Yeah.
Because like every person who didn't see the fan who said it and believes that just GW said it means that just GW said it.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, you're right. It had the same knock-on effect basically, and it also just dovetails back to that idea of groupthink and something becoming true because enough people say it out loud.
Yeah.
So anyway, so what happens from there?
So we've got a giant release coming. Everyone's getting excited. The speculation machine starts running. You've got your like spiky bits and your Daka and all of the millions of Facebook groups speculating on what's going to be the new orc thing. Rumors are coming out. Sprues are getting snapshotted, and then like, wow, they did Primaris Marines. They're probably going to replace orcs. Like they're going to do bigger orcs in that.
Beast Rises thing. Yeah, that was actually a really big rumor because Iron Jaws had already been done.
Yeah, they did big orcs in Age of Sigmar. Why wouldn't you do big orcs in 40k? And like, oh, that'd be really cool. No, that's going to be awesome. Oh, it's going to invalidate my collection. Yada yada yada. And some motorcycles came out and a car that had multiple attachments.
Halfway through that hype, they started releasing the Speed Freak trailers and stuff, and they were really cool trailers. Like they were straight up like Mad Maxy, you know, like stamping down symbols and flames and car noises and machine guns. And that was the other thing that was like super hyped, was that everyone thought they were going to re-release Gorka Morka, and that was the group thing. Everybody said like, oh, it's new Gorka Morka. Oh, it's new Gorka Morka.
I primed half of his face lighter, and he has like a distinct. This is my dark half.
It's called chiaroscuro. He has literally like a super bright half and a super dark half. It's like it's a very.
He's been caught by the spotlight.
It's the classicals. It's a classic paint style. You are emulating the masters right now. I appreciate that about you. Yeah. So then Speed Freaks comes out, and I'm literally at that point. And actually even now, I try not to pay too much attention to what people are saying on the internet about the new releases, because I know it's going to impact my expectations, and I just want to open them and be able to see what they are. And I opened up Speed Freaks, and
you want to be disappointed by yourself. That's
I was excited about Speed Freaks. I loved Gorka Morka. It's one of my favorite all-time old GW games, and I expected it was going to be something like that. And I opened it up, and it was it was more like Knights Renegade. It was a very competently written mini game to play with the orc vehicles that were being released. It didn't really have any campaign rules. The campaign rules were literally just play these missions in this order. And the big fun race mission that like is a big multiplayer game required you to own 2 copies of the game. So it wasn't that I was disappointed, and also it was fairly like I was gonna say I don't say imitative, but it definitely took some stuff derivative of some older games like Dark Future. And then also Gaslands, because like it literally used like turning witches, gubbins they called it, but it was turning witches from Gaslands. And so it was fun. We played it like maybe twice. I think we played it.
I think we played it once. I think I played it one time.
We did the Let's Play. No, we did at least one more video. I'm pretty sure.
Then we did them on the same day, because I definitely haven't played that game on 2 separate days.
Since then, well, we never played it since. I maybe played it with like someone else who came in.
That might have been the case.
But it was what it was. It was a great box of models for the most part. It was 2 new missions we didn't have before.
Get some cars, you get some motorcycles.
And then Orktober ended up being the last Saturday of the month. The pre-orders went up for the new stuff.
Yeah.
And
then the new codex came out, and there's nothing else. That's it. You just get those cars.
Yeah. It was literally just the cars.
You get 6 variants of basically the same thing. And
now, they were cool-ass cars, but I felt
it was a cool car that had different layouts.
Well, I wouldn't go so far. They were literally individual kits, though. They were all individual kits. There was the rocket cars, one built around a plane. Like, they were all super different, man. What it felt like, though, was here was all these designs that we have this grand plan for, and we just didn't follow through with the plan. Because there was enough stuff there to base a game on, for sure.
Right.
If you wanted to do a mini game with orcs and do like, you know, even like a Gork Marco Light, they could have, 100%. And I think that that's what happened was they marketed it so hard, or not even that they marketed it so hard, that they are doing such an effective job of marketing right now that the imagination of the customers like took it for this big long ride, and it just ended up being, it ended up being something, it couldn't live up to its own hype, and even just the imagination of the customers. And so because it was just kind of another 40K release, and there wasn't some huge grand splash of like a new game or whatever behind it,
Yep.
people were disappointed. And
Well,
I mean, it's an emotional reaction. So an emotional reaction, you can't be wrong. It just is how you feel. But I think that is a legitimate result of that same hype machine, right? Of just as much as the hype machine of contrast paints got people who hate painting to try them out and will maybe lead to more painted armies on the table, it also led to people who are really excited about something new and different, or even new and a classic coming back, or whatever it was in their imaginations.
I think it's a hard thing that, like, it was looked at like this was the bringing this orc back to the current edition.
Yeah.
Like, Orc 7 had a new box set in, like, the Gorkanauts came out, and that was kind of it.
That's 7th?
That's 7th at some
It's
point.
Gorkanaut and Morkanaut. I think it was around the same time as Knights. It came out after Knights. Because Knights came out around probably 2014.
But you're looking at like a
mid-2014.
long time since like the range of orcs have been like shaken up at all.
Yes,
like you've been
for
buying
sure.
the same box of Orc Boys since
Since, like,
Black Reach.
Oh, yeah. And that's just a retooled version of the Orc Boys box you're buying in 3rd edition.
Right.
Which is like
And
Third
so
War for Armageddon.
The
3rd edition.
lore for the Beast Arises is around the same time ending, or if not ending, still fresh in people's minds because the siege hasn't started yet.
Right.
And so you've got that on one side where it's like orcs can get infinitely bigger given time. And then you have, the war is escalating in 8th edition and time has passed.
Maybe these giant, huge orcs.
They built cars. What happened there? you missed a point. And then they came out and they're good. Like, it wasn't to say that the codex is bad. It wasn't to say that the rules didn't like make them a competitive or viable or all the other things that you might want from a gameplay perspective.
No, it was certainly a great codex release.
But
it was
like
fun.
hobby-wise, it just was kind of like, okay, I got my book now. Thank you. I'll have my stratagems until the next couple stratagems come out.
Or what's the next exciting thing?
Yeah.
Right. What's the next exciting thing down the road? What are we going to be excited about after this? And that seems to be the mindset, is that once it's out, there's not really a lot more for it. I mean, maybe there will come out later on.
He was wearing a vest on here, and then I realized that it was too hard to paint around it, so I just painted it. And no one's going to notice but me and everyone who watched this video. And no, they're not going to be able to tell.
You could always
Who are you going to tell?
You could always put something over top of it afterwards, so you could put the black or the gray or whatever over top of it. I'm just saying. You could. I know you never come back.
I'm not going back.
We never go back. We come too far.
This is a once and done. This is my however long this show is paint job.
Paint job of these guys. That's fair. So yeah, and these are just two examples. There's no like. I don't want to say that there's like a judgment on any of these things. They're just things that happened. But they kind of throw into contrast, I keep saying contrast. I don't want to use the word contrast too much. They throw into highlight or relief. I'm staring at them. It's in my subconscious. They throw into relief what happens when things are marketed. And we could pick on, I don't say pick on, but we could pick on crowd funds too. There's tons of crowd funds that are incredibly exciting at the time the crowd fund's going on, and people are all talking about excited about it. But when it comes time for them to actually hit the shelves, everyone's excited about the next thing that isn't even out yet.
Yes.
And so they're just talking about that later on. What are some? I mean, the tabletop market's kind of littered with those. Yeah. I can't think of one that's currently going on.
Here's one: is that War Machine, right?
Right.
Like to pick on War Machine, the Colossals book, and then the Wave 2 of Colossals is the perfect example of this, where something was super exciting because Colossals had come out and it shook up the whole game. The models changed, the scale changed.
It's true.
How people looked at how to play it.
Yeah, because like the biggest jack in the game at that point was Behemoth.
Yeah, and then the thing came out that was literally double his size in stats and like 8 times his size in miniature. And then the whole meta changed with them because they totally shook up the way you build armies and how you have to deal with them, and everyone has to have a counter. Like you had to figure it out. And then the next ones were coming, and they were the current edition with a new twist on every one of them. Like the Menoth one went from like a fighter with inaccurate guns to like, I'm going to reveal you, I'm going to do continuous effects.
Right.
The Signar one had a bunch of zone control. The Retribution one was able to push-pull.
You just
4 years.
Yeah.
From when you heard about this, you got the rules, here it comes. By the time it came out, it was like, oh yeah, that came out. What's the thing coming out right now? What's on CID right now? Like, that was it.
What are you talking about? The actual Colossals? Or
the actual models. The ability to play with them.
It was 4 years from the Colossal?
3 years and, like, change.
But some had already come out.
For the final one, right?
Right, okay.
Like, the Hurricane came out fairly soon in that pile. Maybe it was 6 months. Maybe it was less than that.
It was the first three were the Galleon
one is the one that I'm remembering.
Yeah, because I remember it was the first, the original 5. The Kraken, the
Stormclad,
Judicator,
Stormclad? No, it's not the Stormclad.
Stormclad's a baby, or a heavy.
Oh my goodness. It just got its points changed too. Signar Colossal.
not the
Hurricane Colossal.
Yeah, not the other one.
Not the Hurricane, the other one.
It was
Stormwall.
Stormwall, and then it was Conquest or Conqueror.
The Conquest is the Khador one.
It's the Khador one.
Judicator is the Menoth one.
Yeah, but then there was a pair of them for each faction, and the pair didn't come out until what, like 4 years later.
Yeah, because they didn't get announced at the same time. Like the Judicator and all of those got
out. There was a first.
They came out almost right away, and then the Scorn one, like the Khador. Sorry, this Khador. The Hordes versions all came out fairly soon after.
Yeah,
you had the first wave. You had the Mammoth. You had the Mountain King. You had.
That's good though. I think that's an example of like a tiered release though, right? Where you drop the first 5, then you drop the first 5 for
the other faction
for Hordes,
right?
And then you drop the second 5, and then you drop the second 5 again.
But the way I look at it is, it wasn't the second 5 and the second 5. It was, here's all the rules for the next batch in the same book that had like Krios 3 had the new Colossal in it.
Right.
Krios 3 came out, and then years later, the Colossal comes out. And, like, you've forgotten at that point, because I was super excited for him. I'm like, oh, I'm going to figure it out.
What was his name?
It's the Retributor.
No.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Judicator and... Anyway, it doesn't matter. Really. The other Colossal. There are two.
One. Yeah.
By the time he came out, I was like, oh, I can't actually bring 2 of these in my list.
Right.
Because the rules have... The literal addition changed between this.
Right.
And it was like, all right, well.
So it got announced. It got announced in one of the like the campaign books, but then didn't come out until like 2.5 years later or something like that.
Right. It got announced in. I think
whatever.
It's not Colossal. It's called something else. It's like Vengeance or something like that. Right. It had Resnick 2,
Krios 3.
Krios 3.
Is it the one where the
Pyrus came out in that
one?
one?
It's the one where Severus becomes the High or the High Rut's name.
Could be. I didn't read the lore.
That's
I wasn't into the lore.
But I think it's the one where Severus becomes. It's Severus.
I think that's
3.
all the same.
He becomes the Hierophant. No, what's his name? The High Allegiant? No, not the High Allegiant. There's a name for it. Whatever the leader of the
Hierarch.
The Hierarch. Yeah, it's Hierarch Severus, because he becomes in charge of the whole company.
Grand Hierarch Foil.
Garrick Foyle. Garrick Foyle, I think.
I'm just trying to remember what his title was. I know his name, but I don't remember his title, because that's the same title.
Yeah,
He's that guy.
I think it's Hierarch.
Grand Hierarch Foil.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know. Anyway, but I understand what you're saying. It's here's the thing. Here's the information about the thing.
It was a hype train that got built up. It's the Kickstarter issue of like, here's this thing. It's going to be great. 6 to 8 to 12 to 18 to 14 years later, buy a $10,000 battleship.
Right.
Like, it'll come out. I promise you. The pizzas are coming. Like, that's what's happening right now in everything.
Well, and it's certainly pervasive, not just in tabletop too, because it's pervasive in video games. It's pervasive in board games. It's pervasive. It's the over marketing of stuff, or what people do when something is marketed really well, and just like the things that they create in their own minds tend to get away with us, and things get built up to being maybe something that they were never intended to be.
I honestly also think, and I just thought of this, is that a lot of tools that have come out in the last like 10 years that have made it easier. No, they've made it easier for just anybody to do a thing. And not everybody can do a thing. I'm sorry. Like, if you don't have the expertise or the knowledge or ability or the right people in place to try and create a thing, it doesn't really work. But now you have a tool where if you can make a really good pitch, I can get people to buy in on that.
And get enough people excited, too, because there's just the nature of the way social media works and the way algorithms work.
I'm going to get you all potato salad.
Well, it is the one scoop potato salad. The more excited people are about something, the more they say they're into it and excited about it, the more pervasive that excitement becomes. You're more excited about something if you think it's going to be a good time.
Then we can talk about stretch goals.
Well, but that's it. You literally see these crowdfunding campaigns where the comments are actually being run by like the backers.
Yep.
And they're like, "Come on, guys, let's share this some more and get up to whatever X amount of stretch goal or whatever."
And then there's a personal buy-in where they have to defend it.
Yep.
If you shade doubt on it, I don't know. I just want to talk about Star Citizen, but I don't know it enough because there's so much lore on Star Citizen.
What's that?
It's a space. So you've heard of No Man's Sky.
Yeah, okay.
You've heard of Elite Dangerous, maybe.
Yep, I know Elite Dangerous. You played it with what's his name?
A bunch of the War Machine guys.
War Machine guys. Manoth John.
Manoth John played it with me. And like a couple guys from...
Beer Machine?
Anyway, Beer Machine, yeah.
That's right. Yeah, Rich and
them. They played it. And all that game, along with Star Citizen, they came out at the same time on Kickstarter.
Okay.
And Star Citizen was this huge, lots of big names, big money, going to be made on Frostbite, super cool looking game, blah, blah, blah. Made a ton of money, millions, whatever it was off the top. It's still not out.
How long ago was this?
9 years? 8 years?
Jesus.
It's raised $180 million.
Oh my God.
Something along those lines.
Is there even an alpha? Is there like a Steam Greenlight or something? Like,
there's been repeated and changing consistently alphas that have appeared and disappeared. Like they made like a Wing Commander, and then that got totally scrapped. They were doing like a first-person shooter that was like the boarding system. Entire game basically got made. Turns out the version of Frostbite that the main game was now working on was so far removed from it that it actually didn't function in the game anymore. So they just abolished the whole thing. And like just this like nightmare cavalcade of problems. And like right now, one of the big ways that you can still pledge to it on their website. You can buy with real money a ship that you will get in game when the game comes out.
Okay.
Some of them are $10,000.
Jesus.
Like $10,000 US to buy this. And you have to look at that. And people are still adamant defending this. And like, I know somebody in here is a Star Citizen supporter. As someone who didn't buy into it, I don't have a vested interest. I don't really care whether it comes out or not. Like all the power to you.
What was the promise here though? Was the promise that it was like this huge open space world where you could do whatever you could literally just live in space vicariously.
Go have fun, live in space. It was essentially what all of those games like No Man's Sky, Elite Dangerous, all these guys came out at once. Elite Dangerous and No Man's Sky came out both to like, well, No Man's Sky had a pretty bad review, but like Elite Dangerous was pretty middling. Both of those have recovered since then. Like
they've changed
No
the game.
Man's Sky got a total facelift and became like, hey, this is pretty fun now. And Elite Dangerous is like, yeah, it's kind of a niche market of like someone who wants a kind of slower paced space sim,
game. Yep.
But it's a space sim and you can play it. Like. That's the difference, and
we're talking about a much bigger market here. So, like,
for sure,
the level of takeoff of that hype machine is a bajillion times what it is in tabletop.
Right, but it's all just scaling it up, right?
Yeah.
Like you can have that problem in any level where like this is a thing that I think this Kickstarter's great and this game's going to be awesome, and like, hey, I think that it's not. Well, you're wrong, and you shouldn't talk about it because it's great, and we all agree. And it's going to be awesome. And I mean, I can't think of a miniature equivalent of that because everyone's pretty like, let's all buy in and we all should play all games. So at least that's what I see across them.
Here's the thing, though, is that there is a certain level of, and let's take it away from crowdfunding for a minute, though. There's a certain level of, I'm really excited about this thing that's just come out. Maybe I had to wait for it for a while, but maybe the company makes more than one thing and they turn their attention away from this thing for a while. And in that time, I can't find anyone to enjoy this thing with. You know what I mean? A good example of that would be...
Got to?
Got just another crowdfunding one, though.
Oh.
That's a different one. I think probably the early announcement of Malifaux. So Malifaux 3 gets announced, Jesus, probably like a year and a half ago now. Like at least a year. But like super early. Like crazy early. And I went from... We were doing Malifaux every other week. I had lots of people coming in and playing Malifaux, running some fairly consistent Malifaux events, to people saying I'm working on this other game now because it's getting releases and, you know, like I'm not sure what it's going to be in M3, so I don't want to buy more miniatures until I know what that edition looks like. And that's a real like, hey, we built some hype about this thing, and there's a bunch of history there. I'm pretty sure because Ben told me that. There was something going on that release that announcement had to happen. Like somebody maybe talked about it earlier or something slipped out, and they kind of had to let the cat out of the bag about the fact that there was going to be a new edition. Which you guys, if you're a huge Malifaux fan, you know more about this. You can correct me in the comments, and please do fill in the details. But the knock-on effect that I felt was people stopped working on their Malifaux collections and started working on something else because it wasn't here yet, right?
Well, it's just you don't know what's going to happen,
and you don't know what's going to happen, and so there's a literal financial impact then on them as a company.
Having made this announcement.
Exactly. Yeah. And so, and the same
really
thing I think goes
to how to time your announcements.
Well, yeah, but I think the same thing goes for buying a property. You know what I mean? Like Drop Fleet Commander gets bought by, was it TD Combat, I think, has it now? Hawk War Games?
I have a whole Drop Fleet army now.
You do, you have a lot of them.
Yep.
But there's some time in between stuff coming out. Another version of that would be, I know that War Cradle's doing the boat game that Greg and I played, Dystopian Wars. And we had a ton of fun playing the beta or whatever. But I had to like try and scrape together miniatures because no one was stocking it, no one had it, and a lot of people hadn't been working on it for a while.
I'm debating how green I want my guys to be.
I think do Creed green.
It's either Creed or Warp Lightning.
Warp Lightning is very bright. Creed green is the one I used on the painting demo that I did with the Foundation
I want
paints.
my camo guys to blind passing jets.
No, use that for their baggage. And then use, you know what I mean?
Like the metal pieces or something?
Yeah, so you like all their stowage and pouches use the brighter green for, and use the darker green for all of their actual fatigues
and armor.
Yeah, you got it. So it's more of an OD green.
Fair enough.
Give them paying advice while we talk here. If anyone wants to see what the brawlers look like, by the way, there's a contrast paint video.
I'll post a picture of this somewhere
when it's done tomorrow on the site.
After the end of this, there'll be a picture of what I got done during the episode.
Perfect.
We'll do that.
Nailed it. Excellent.
Yeah.
So the sort of like knock-on effect then of like you know something's coming but you don't know when. I think that there's a real like struggle where it can go one way too far. The other, you can either get people really excited too early before they can spend money. I think that's a real danger. Do you know if there's ever new releases talked about in the CIDs?
I don't know.
Or privateer press?
I was in the CIDs for probably 15 minutes.
Okay, that's fair.
And then I was like, I'm done.
This wasn't for you. But any type of program like that where you spoil stuff, you talk about new releases really early, people make up their minds about them. And especially if you do it based on rules versus before you actually see a toy soldier. Because if there's a miniature I really like, I don't care what it does. I'm just going to buy it. I'm going to paint it. I'm going to have it in my collection. I'm going to enjoy it for its physical properties, like for what it looks like and what it is. And if it comes off the shelf to play a game every now and again, great. And if it doesn't, whatever. It's not the end of the world. I'm not going to care too much.
Right.
That's not everybody. I'm not saying that's everybody's experience, but
a lot of people buy the Git models for what they do.
Well, a lot
in
of
the
people
imaginary
game. But there's enough miniature companies out there selling miniatures without rule sets that I think that the opposite is also true.
That's true.
they survive selling just toy soldiers with no rules. So I think that's also true. So when you have this too early mentality, you can affect your sales, right? I think that's something workshops figured out is they only really start talking something a week before you can spend money on it. Their hype train leaves the station. If it's a really big thing, maybe 2 weeks early, because they've occasionally done those big 2-week pre-orders. I think the last one was for 2nd edition Age of Sigmar. They did a big 2-week pre-order, and maybe before that was Kill Team. But for the most part, they just, here's a week, we start talking about it, and then 5 days after we start talking about it, you can, on that Saturday, usually you can pre-order it, you can spend money. And that formula seems to be working for them. And they just kind of like hopscotch from release to release. And they never give anybody too much time to worry about what's coming after it. They get excited about what it is. What are you painting right now? Strelok?
Yeah, I don't like the green.
Let it dry first.
No, I know.
It all changes as it dries.
It's just a solid green. I might switch to a brown and then do green for highlighting.
Or gray. Try gray. There's a gray one too, which is really good.
Yeah, maybe that. The like tan color kind of matches the rest of my guys.
Yeah, but then they'll look like the rest of your guys. They don't look like everybody else. They look different. And see what it looks like after you do the green on the backpacks and stuff too. Or a beige, like one of the bone colors maybe on the backpacks as well. That might look cool. I like how you're shaking it away from the mic. The audience thanks you, I'm sure.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit for you.
As he drinks.
You called me out.
I did call you out. Whatever, at least you're not eating chocolate bars. There's literally a Wonder Bar sitting, waiting.
Oh, it's melted.
Comeuppance. Everybody wished you the future sponsorship by what is it? Butterfinger? Butter Bar?
Is it Cadbury? Yeah, it's Cadbury.
It's Cadbury. Come on, Cadbury. Sponsored by Cadbury. They got some deep pockets, I'm sure. They're owned by the Archer Corporation or something. They got some money.
I think they're owned by Coke. Or Pepsi. One of the two of them.
Regardless, they got some money.
Yeah.
Send
your form email.
Send your form email. And a case of Wonder Bar, so I know you're serious.
No, I mean to Cadbury. On my behalf.
There you go. On your behalf, fair enough. Yeah. And
hype machines.
So, but what is What is a time that you can think of where you missed the boat on something because you're excited about something that wasn't even out yet? Can you think of one? It hasn't happened in a while because you've not been super excited by something that wasn't out yet in a while that I've noticed.
I haven't been excited for anything in a while.
We took his emotion chip out about 6 months ago, and he doesn't have feelings anymore.
It's
his brother Lore turned up, and we had to subjugate him.
Yeah, there's not been any releases for any of these games that has really been like, that's the thing. Like Gloomspite, I suppose, was the last like thing I was like really interested in.
It delivered pretty well.
And yeah, it was cool. Like I think it's a fun army, and the game's pretty good. Like I'm on board for how Age of Sigmar do. As far as like other things outside of that, like I'm trying to think of even what I've picked up and started doing in the last couple months. What miniature games have I painted? I mean, I did yours.
Relic Blade.
Relic Blade's great though, and that's like I'm just waiting for the next one because I'm inherently going to buy in on it because like I just need more stuff to add into the mechanics pile for that game.
Yeah, because it's a mix and match, make your best.
Yeah, it doesn't matter whatever the new release is, it just gets incorporated into the machine.
Into that machine, yeah.
And I don't play it very often, so it gets a benefit of like
it's always novel. Yeah, it's always novel.
Yeah. I mean, I got into my Eldar stuff, but that wasn't new. That wasn't like a new release that I want to jump onto.
That was actually you doing something just for you, I think.
Yeah, it was just on a whim.
They were miniatures that they did. They weren't great in the game.
But there was something that I always wanted.
Pump the brakes, and it was something you really liked.
Yeah. So I don't know if I'm the best to talk about like the hype machine because I don't usually get caught up in it too much.
I have two examples. The first one for me was Titanicus, because they announced the return of Titanicus like a year before it actually came out, and then when it did come out, there wasn't really enough stuff to play match play for like 3 or 4 months, and so I was really excited about it, and then I didn't play it until January of the next year.
Right.
We got it that summer. I painted up enough stuff that we could play, but because it was just Warlord Titans and Knights, we couldn't really play match play, which meant we were kind of fudging everything. You know what I mean? And like
because we played that, and even that one for me, like it was like, yes, this exists. Well, I'm gonna go play Infinity now.
Well, they were about to do it with another game that I really like, which is Aeronautica Imperialis. They just did a little stinger teaser for it. But there's been nothing really since then. So who knows? Like it could be another year, but before it comes out,
I'm worried. Actually, you know what? Warcry is on the agenda.
And they've talked about that for a while. Like the Warcry stinger was probably March.
It makes me nervous. So I think actually a lot of it is like I watch video game stuff. I follow. Right. I'm on board with a lot of like I play a lot of indie games and small budget games. I don't buy. If a game costs more than $10, I usually don't buy it.
You are a Steam sale fanatic. You've had a lot of like Steam sale. Where is it?
Yeah.
We got the bottle opener. There we go.
Don't worry.
It's a Hefeweizen. It's not a twist off.
And I think it's also really jaded me towards the idea of big releases. Like I'm perpetually like it'll be bad. Like hope it'll be okay. Like let's go for that. The moment I see like we've decided we're going to add on, and I'm like, oh no, stop.
Well, I'm usually happy that I try out one of the games you recommend to me like a year and a half or 3 years after it comes out, because usually there's like all the fixes already done. Yeah. So when I first experience a game, it's like woohoo, like it's all fixed and done and perfect. Like how long had Salt and Sanctuary been out before we played it? Probably like a year.
Yeah, I had found out about it a year or two prior, but it wasn't available on PC at the time.
Right.
And then I just kind of sat on it until eventually I just stumbled upon it in the Steam soil and then jumped on it.
Because it came out and like 2 days later I bought it, and you and I played the hell out of that game for like
a good while,
like 3 weeks or something like that. Like
the Long Dark was another one.
Yep, the Long Dark was another good one. And Long Dark actually was fairly new at that point too, because it's had a lot.
So you got in on that one at the beginning, right?
I did, yeah.
So you got to watch the expansion. But see, like that's my perspective about how the hype machine for these games is in my opinion making it harder to follow that train forever.
Right.
Is they're releasing these games, and like Titanicus is a great example because as you said, it only came with the one Titan. And that's it. Like you couldn't go and buy. It didn't even have extra arms.
That was the other thing that really like knocked the wind out of my sails was it was one Titan, and the joy of the original Titanicus in '88 was that it was one Titan and just this raft of equipment. So you got to play, mix and match, build your favorite robot right out of the box. And this time around, you could literally only build the Titan kit one way. And that actually didn't change until early this year.
Because if I recall, the way to build a maniple is big night, middle tier, little tier.
Yeah, the base maniples in the rule book because the expansions haven't come
on
out
release.
Yet. Yeah. It was 2 warlords and a reaver, or like base scale, which is the Myrmidon.
Yeah.
It was a reaver and 2 warhounds, which was the Corsair, whatever, or the Venator, whatever the light one was, and then it was the Axiom, which is the basic one, which is one of each, right? It's a warlord, reaver, warhound.
So here you are on release,
yeah,
and on release they don't have the things you need to play the base game.
I was actually really surprised that the thing they didn't release first, because it came out later on, and I was like, this would have made perfect sense, was they release the Axiom Maniple box first, and then have all of them just released separately, right? Later on, right? Chop that release up into, here's the bundle box first, that's a value, and then if you want to buy more of them, buying the bundle box again, here's the later on, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, like whatever later, here's the other kits coming out.
But that's what I mean in the sense of like, so you're really excited for this game, it comes out, and then you go, well, I can't really play it. I need to wait for the next thing to come out so I can actually play it. Like, you bring in these people, you can't build your maniple. You can kind of play the game because, like...
You can play open play. Like, you can just put Titans down and shoot each other.
And, like, you can kind of play, but you need to get this, and you need that. You need something else to happen, and, like...
There was a lot of, like, shoehorning, basically, or bootstrapping to make the game...
You're getting
to make the game experience what it was when I played it in 88. And there is some... I will defend it by saying there is some preconceptions in my mind, because I played it back then, right? I played it back when... that box came out, and so in my mind that's what it was going to be. It was going to be that. So Necromunda's a version of that too, right? Because Necromunda, there was Necromunda and then Gang War 1, which gave you the campaign rules, but the campaign rules weren't in the box,
right?
And I was like, what?
Well, I mean, I don't have that preconception. Right. All I have is, in order to build a list outside of the just let's play whatever models we want,
right?
You need these, and it's like, well, can I go buy those? No. So we can't play without just like whatever we want to do. That's correct. Okay, so there's no puzzle to unlock, right?
You had that problem they just Sigmar in the beginning too.
Yes.
Where because there was no points, there wasn't like a system to figure out. And
I'm tempted to leave all their boots white.
Broke your brain. I just do brown. Just do as one of the other browns.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess that's my point about the hype thing. Like, it's really exciting. Comes out, got it. Okay, I got to wait a little bit longer until the next thing. But then the next one has started creeping in, right? Like, Titanic has now come out. You bought it. You want to play it. Your local buddy, who's like the guy at the hobby shop, goes, we're going to run an event. He goes, okay, what are we going to play with? Well, you need to bring a maniple. Okay, well, I'll just bring a maniple. Like, we know how this functions more or less. You can't.
It's hard to play with strangers, yeah, because you have to play with people. If you're gonna do that kind of like bootstrapping, it typically has to be with people you know. You're not gonna. There's no like we agree to a point level at this gaming night. We show up and play a stranger
and say what you will, but these games need you to be able to go out to the hobby shop on a night and play them.
Yeah, to grow, especially to grow. Like, there needs to be something to make people kind of like congregate. And
I know there's a lot of people who just play with their buddies and like, this isn't really going to apply to you because you guys are going to buy in on what you all want to be playing.
No, but for the retailer to stock it and keep selling it,
that's true.
They have to have at least some element of that and be able to see that happening in their store. Because a lot of people who are the primary purchasers of product are actually not the end user. They're the people that run the hobby shop that, order $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 worth of product a year maybe.
Yeah.
Before MSRP at cost.
And they're going to be the ones who are going to carry it or not based on the kind of events that they can run, based on the people coming to those events, based on the people hanging out in the shop buying them and using them.
And there's another problem with crowdfunding, right? Is that if people show up in a shop and already have everything, if that hype machine has gone as well as it possibly can.
Yep, everyone bought in.
Everybody bought in. Everybody's got armies. What's the money left to make? You know what I mean? Like, how does and they've kind of started to grapple with that with like retailer pledges and crowdfunding and stuff now too. But I've almost seen that there's a trend of the more popular, talked about, and huge a crowdfund is, the less it penetrates the brick and mortar market once it actually comes to release. Because so many consumers, some of the end user consumers, unless there's releases that weren't in the Kickstarter that are already on their way that they can go and buy there, already have a huge stack of products.
Yeah. I wonder if that's the way to kind of get around that a bit.
What do you mean?
Is to have your Kickstarter, you have your thing that you're selling in the Kickstarter, and the stretch goal doesn't immediately go to the people backing the Kickstarter.
Well, I think that's a shadow planning thing, though,
right?
A Song of Ice and Fire kind of successfully did that because they had a pile of releases, that weren't part of the stretch goals, that weren't part of the thing, that came out within like 6 months of release. You had new units all of a sudden, right?
That you could have funded like from the Kickstarter perspective as part of the Kickstarter.
Part of the money of the Kickstarter is being put aside for that.
Yeah.
Which I think, but you can't tell people that. That has to be the like golden lollipop that shows up. You know what I mean, once your stuff shows up. And you have to time it right too, that not only are you delivering Kickstarters to people, but you're also soliciting retailers with, these are our 6 months of new releases that we already have at the warehouse.
Yeah.
Right. Or distributors with the same question. Here's our plan for 6 months of releases that these customers that we created for you don't already have.
Yeah. So that if you want to carry this in your store, it's not going to just sit there until the random one person talk to who didn't back the Kickstarter shows up and buys.
And hype machine wise, that's best case scenario, right?
Yes.
That there is like 6 or 8
There's
or 10
already
months
an
of releases
existing
back
people
there.
that can bring them in, and they made enough that they can do that kind of investment.
And I think that's a struggle for Workshop in particular, because they have so many product lines. How do you, if you do 52 weeks of releases a year, you're still, just because there's so many different product lines dividing up those 52 weeks, not going to have like even a monthly release for some of these games. There's not going to be something every month for Blackstone Fortress. There's not going to be something every single month for Titanicus or for Necromunda or Blood Bowl or whatever, right? Yeah. They get maybe like 5 or 6 times a year they get a release. Whereas the mainstream games get a release at least once a month, right? There's something for 40K, something for Fantasy.
They do something like closer to Infinity, where you don't do like a faction release.
Yeah, and it's something for almost every faction.
That's what you do instead. Yeah. Like you look at GW and you go like, so this month's this week or this month or whatever time frame you want to do, it is a new Necron unit, a new this, a new that, an updated codex for them, but no new models yet, and then a Titanicus and an arena.
Well, it tends to be one and done. Like the releases, like,
but that's it.
That's the thing is for Workshop.
Boom.
But for Workshop, a codex comes out and blam, all the stuff for that codex out at the same time. And so if you're excited about X or Y army, you got to wait almost until the next iteration of your codex to get something new, or like a campaign book. Whereas for Infinity, it's like almost every month there's something for your faction. If not your sectorial, then at least your main, homebody faction that you can play.
Yep.
And that's a real strength, that your customers can basically always be engaged month by month.
Yep.
And have them,
and
like,
even if you didn't get one that month, because that'll happen, you know that you're maybe 4 weeks away from an announcement or something that's going to be tied into what you're collecting, and something new to look forward to. So like it's a hype machine that's perpetually paying itself off, rather than just perpetually.
They're pretty judicious about their hype machine too. They usually have it revolve around campaign books and big box sets. So like their hype machine really ticks up to like, they do videos and they do like unboxings. They do like a chain of like marketing and media for like the big like army packs. Like right now it's whatever's coming at Gen Con. It's that Wildfire, and that's.
Pretty excited for that.
I'm super excited for that. It's 2 new factions. You know what I mean? Like
a new model line and a new faction.
And a new faction. That's right. Yeah. So Shaz Vasti is almost a new faction because they haven't really gotten any love.
Pretty excited for them.
Probably since Paradiso, I think. That's when the Shaz Vasti came out.
Well, their new rule set has already dropped, but the model, there hasn't been a new model in. Right?
Doesn't mean since Paradiso. So like it's a big deal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're making it an appropriate big deal. And what's also funny is, because it might be a while off, you've also seen this proc drop hint now for Warcaster 5000.
Yes. I don't know if that's actually true, but I'm going with it as if it's true.
It was Warcaster something. Warcaster's Neo Mechanica. Neo Mechanica is the subtext, which is a sci-fi game from Privateer Press in the same universe, in the year 5000.
Whatever thousands years. I don't quote me on the 5,000. I'm calling it that. Okay, I don't remember where that's from or if it's 5,000. True. But that's what we're going with until someone proves me otherwise.
That'll be the tongue-in-cheek name. The hype machine can start now. Warcaster 5000.
Yeah.
That would be a fantastic name for like an 80s like quasi sci-fi movie. But I'm super hyped for that. Like I am hyped for a brand new game using similar mechanics even, but that resets the clock because it's like all new stuff. And the first thing they've said about it is that you create your own Warcaster. That was in their little stinger from Lock and Load.
Okay, so we're talking about the hype train and the challenges around it. So you're talking about something that you're pretty hyped for.
But they didn't give us a lot of info.
So why are you hyped? What are you hoping that you would get out of it? And what could they do to make it worse or better for you as far as your hype is concerned?
So I think they don't talk about it for a while, because right now there's a lot of speculation going on. They haven't shown anything other than just like a title card, right? There's like a game logo, and then there's like a space background for it. There's nothing really besides that. And they've said 2 things that they haven't. The one bit of information they dropped that's so important to me is that you create a Warcaster, that you create your own avatar in the game. Because we literally talked about that last week.
Yes.
About how important I find that is to buy in, where you get to use your miniatures, give them a story, give them some life. You know what I mean? You put meat on the backstory for these people. And you care about them. And then the fact that it's an all new line.
Setting.
You know, it's a new setting, a new
models.
line, new models. Like, to me, that is the thing that gets me most excited about a game, is when I get to learn about the universe, experience the models for the first time, and then create my own little corner of it, right? And that's something that hasn't really existed in Privateer Press's product line or the product offer
For quite some time.
Yet. I mean, apart from the RPG, I don't think you've ever made a character, right?
Oh, that's what you mean. Yes,
I'm talking about just that shift in like design philosophy where you get to inject yourself into the game.
Yeah.
And have your own sort of like
You're always
persona.
telling someone else's story right now.
Yeah, but you can tell your own story in whatever this new sort of like galaxy hopping universe is, and that's just enough information, I think, for a first like hint. Because who knows what's coming? It could be a year off, could be 2 years off, could be 5 years off. Like, who knows? At this point, I am done with guessing the timelines for things, because people either drop way too much information too early and we sit there twiddling our thumbs for 18 months or 2 years, or they give you a bunch of information and 5 days to process it and then it goes up for pre-order.
Right.
So and everything in between, like, there is no sense speculating on any of this stuff, because like, seriously, who the fuck knows at this point? There's no precedent for how this works. But to me, that was a very wise like amount of information, and it focused on key elements that interest potential new customers, right? Because they didn't talk about the rules. They didn't highlight fast-paced tactical warfare, you know what I mean? Or like the most balanced edition of whatever game ever. It's that message was crafted to speak to people that don't necessarily have any vested interest in the current product offer.
Come on, scratch builds. Or mods, or customizing,
or just give me a Warjack box with 17 different arms in it. You know what I mean? Give me the experience I didn't get with my Warlord Titan, where I can make the best, cool, whatever this future faction
pointed
is
by
thing.
limb, don't pointed by like give the chassis and limbs their own standard points, and then you just build your own.
Let me build my own Ed 209s. Like, I want my own little
what's your
faction.
What's your Warcaster? Well, it's me, and he's got nothing but defense. But if he ever gets hit, he dies, and he's surrounded by robots who have nothing but 2 plungers for arms.
That's it.
That's what he does.
It's Borderlandsy, where the robots all don't make a whole bunch of sense. Sometimes they transform into bulldozers, and you don't really know what's going on. But cool, like, I get to inject myself in that. I'm excited about that. And that's to me like a good example of just the right amount of information for hopefully the right timeline. Right here, we're working on something new in the background, and here's the information that might attract people who've stopped paying attention to the main information that we typically give. It was about, balance and scenario play or tournaments or the background or whatever of like the current product offer.
A new rules update, like the theme change and stuff like that.
Because there's always going to be people that are excited about different things. They're going to be excited about the rules. They're going to be excited about, maybe a universe they already play games in. But at the same time, telling me there's something all new coming, that attracts everybody. It's the widest possible net. Anybody can get excited about that and walk into it. And I think Warcry did that too. A low model count. Here's brand new models. Here's a thing we've never seen before in Warhammer, which are these like random chaos tribes living in the realms that have been conquered by chaos, having their own little like feuds and squabbles, and it all feels very Mad Max, fantasy Mad Max. Like, they've been building that hype engine since probably last year. It's either early this year or late last year.
Right.
That first thing, or that first teaser went up, and that's a good lead time. We've seen tons of pictures of miniatures now. We've already seen a picture of the box set. You know what I mean? Like the little stinger.
But I feel like now that the models have started coming and pictures of them are coming, it needs to come out. Like, that's how I feel about it.
Oh, well, that one I will take a guess at, because.
Yes, it's going to come out.
Because Workshop's an open book, we know exactly. They're public trade company. We know exactly how much money they made when. You can look in their wallet at any time. That's a release that's going up against Kill Team.
The way businesses work.
Well, that's it. You got to climb that mountain. If you have a really good year, you don't have a choice. You got to beat that number next year. Like that mountain only gets taller and taller and taller.
Your sales goals are targeted year over year.
So
and
you create
if you're looking
a product
for a 5% growth over time, maybe 7.
Whatever it is, it doesn't matter what it is. It just has to be more than last year.
Yes.
They have to create a product offer that's similarly engaging, and they have to market it in such a way that's going to make that amount of money.
Yeah.
And you can tell they're super serious about this one because it's not like a week before pre-order time that they're talking about it. They're talking about it with a long burn. So they want this to be like a big, serialized, exciting release.
Right.
And I for one welcome our new skirmishy Chaos Overlords because it's a pile of models I want to paint, and it's a new universe to live into.
I just don't want it to be baby Mordheim. It's the only thing I'm worried about.
It won't be Mordheim. It can never be Mordheim.
I know.
Stop thinking about Mordheim. Anyone who compares it to Mordheim is going to be disappointed. And I'm sorry I introduced you to Mordheim. I spoiled you for all the miniature games.
Right, but I mean to say, in the same way that you looked at Titanicus and had expectations about Titanicus, this is clearly billing itself as the not technically fantasy skirmish game.
Right.
And it's gonna play to those. Like, you already have warband construction. Like, it exists in this already in a variant of some form. Like,
yeah, it's gonna be Kill Team.
I'm Scarecrow Lady with no hands.
It'll be Kill Team. It'll be much more like Kill Team. I think that'll be like Mordheim. I doubt there's gonna be any kind of like converting or upgunning or re-equipping your guys.
Yes.
It's just gonna be, here's the classes of dudes. We'll release more dudes over time, and I'm okay with that. I am perfectly happy with Kill Team the way it is. I think I will be perfectly happy with that in this game. I am not preparing myself for it to be new Mordheim. Nothing about the marketing has said it's new Mordheim. Right. But the problem is it's ruins with like ladders and walkways like the last time. So it's evocative
fantasy
of Mordheim.
People living in a chaosy world.
It's evocative of Mordheim, but it is not going to be Mordheim. And I, honestly, you couldn't redo Mordheim. This is something that for years has been a pet peeve of mine, is people want them to remake Mordheim, but you couldn't have it come out in 1999, right? You couldn't have it. It's turned 20 years old this year. You can't recreate the weird psychology and paranoia of the premillennial tension. A great Tricky album, by the way, that existed in that time that Workshop just captured, right? This like they did this like dark mirror universe of a world that flipped over in the year 1999 and went horribly wrong, and people had to recover from this terrible catastrophe. I don't think you could capture that feeling and have a game come out at the same time that was like that. It's a fantastic fantasy skirmish, but
take that goddamn injury chart and you put it into every game. every game that wants to be a campaign skirmish game, and you just make it work.
It needs a D66 or D100 injury chart. Yeah. It's got to have something crazy. And the exploration chart. The exploration chart is actually my second favorite thing.
Yeah, 1-2.
The way that there was there's literally things in that exploration chart that I've never seen happen in 20 years playing Mordheim. No one's ever found a magic item. No one's ever found a Gromwell suit of armor, and someone's gonna talk in the comments right now and be like, "Well, I did it. I rolled 6 6s or 6 5s or whatever it is you need to find a magic item. 6 1s." I've played. I think even just the last 4 years since we started GMG, I've played like 70 or 80 games of Mordheim on my channel, plus whatever we played on your channel, and it's never come up in all of those games, right? And that's a lot of games of Mordheim. We've never had. That's a lot of like iterations of dice rolling, and it's never come up.
I've had some stuff happen. I haven't had that happen.
But we've never gotten to 6 of a kind ever.
I have seen it though.
Have you?
My buddy John. We were playing it. We were playing the Mordheim team game over at the hobby shop.
Right.
And he got 6 1s.
6
1s. I don't remember what it does.
I don't know what 6 1s does.
But sure he did it. Yeah.
Well, it's like because the magic items in the book are hilariously OP. They're so good, and they're so good because if you find one, it's such an incredibly rare event that like it needed to be something incredibly cool. Yeah. There was like the sword of dwarf killing, and it got like, I can't remember if it was like an extra strength or AP against dwarves.
That's pretty good.
But you couldn't attack elves with it.
Oh.
So if an elf attacked you, you literally couldn't use it. You were unarmed. The sword just wouldn't strike elves. It would just stay at scabbard and you couldn't fight them. Or no, it was a bow. I think it was a bow. It was a bow.
I know there's the bow that killed dwarves. Mm-hmm. I think that's how it worked.
That's the one.
And it had +1 to hit.
No, the sword was like a frenzy sword. That was what it was. It was a frenzy sword where you never lost your frenzy even if you got knocked down. Because you were just completely insane. You lost your mind. The demon inside of it like took control of you or whatever. There was a super suit of Gromwell armor. There was like a cloak. Like a wizard hat or something like that.
All kinds of.
There were 6 of them. There's only 6 items, but they were like super duper hard to find. But like you couldn't capture that lightning in a bottle again.
But it's the same. Could I get that hype train going?
So here's my example of why I don't think you can.
Poured money into it and lied to people.
Lied to people. It didn't happen again with X-Wing. X-Wing had a second edition, and everyone was talking about X-Wing when it first came out. It was literally lightning in a bottle. Retailers couldn't get enough of it. Everyone was playing it. Like, everyone we knew played X-Wing at some point when it first came out, because it hadn't been done before. It was this pre-painted, super popular IP, really easy to like just flying colors passes the Christmas morning test, where you open the box, you punch the tokens, and you're playing on any small table surface. It's a fantastic example of like,
even we were carrying it.
That's
we're
it.
At a bookstore.
In a bookstore, you're carrying exactly. You had it at Chapters Indigo, and so I think that's a mean feat to come up against again. You know what I mean? That's like a level like a Mordheim, where you can't come up against it and have it be the same thing again, because if nothing else, everyone's going to compare it to what came before it. Right. Like, and you have to get new cards and whatever. All the mechanical problems of doing a new edition get exacerbated by everyone's preconception of what it should be.
I suppose the difference, I would say, and the reason why, like, I feel like you could almost, is an entire generation of people have passed for Mordheim.
You're right, yeah.
You could come back
20 years is a long time
and make an entire, you could resell it as if it never happened before. And
you'd have the game carte blanche.
You'd have an entire section of your audience that have never, like, this is an awesome new skirmish game. Have you heard of Mordheim?
There is a precedent for that, is that Shadow Armageddon was Necromunda. It was literally just the rule set from the original 90s Necromunda using 40k miniatures. So there is certainly a precedent for reboxing an old rule set and just playing with it again. Would it work for Mordheim? I don't know. I honestly don't think so.
You came out with new miniatures, new warbands,
and the same rule set in the same universe.
Even just similar rule set, like you could take Mordheim as it exists, 1-to-1 transit Age of Sigmar's current rule set, and all you do is add an injury step. In the same way they did, they stapled that injury step on top of regular fantasy at the time. I guess, yeah. I guess you could. The injury rolls, yes. You'd end up having, the problem is you don't have toughness, you don't have as many stats. You don't have initiative. Like there's stats that are missing for you to do all the dynamic stuff like diving and climbing and walking around. And I still think that inherently limits you. It does make the injuries less dynamic. Well, that's it, because you can't have like dynamic. You can't have all these stats that they can affect. You can't even have stats that get leveled up, right? Because there's no strength. There's just your wound roll. You'd level up the wound roll of a weapon. Yes. You need to have a whole equipment chart of, if I give them X or Y equipment, this is the way your stats change based on hitting and wounding. You know, like. Well, you can also just tie special abilities to them in the same way that like a buckler was a reroll to save. You simply make it that right, but a sword is on a 5/5 at all times. I'm just saying, is if your base stat line is hit on 4s, win on 4s, and you need to somehow change that with equipment, like what does that do? Like I mean, I guess you could create. Okay, yes, you have to make a game. But what I'm saying is people would then just compare it to Mordheim. Which the point would be. Like, that's fair. But it wouldn't be Mordheim. You're not talking about bringing back Mordheim at that point. You're talking about doing a Mordheim conversion for AOS, which I'm pretty sure is actually available for free on the internet right now. Yeah, there's at least 2 or 3 people that have like tried that. I'm pretty sure there is something I don't like this for Nick. You're going over here. No, for Nick's getting cut. He's too He's too hunched over. I don't know what he's doing. He's got an old school pose where he's like crouched over halfway. Yeah. Do you need him for your list? No. Okay. I don't even think I actually need one of these for Kovniks. I'm just painting them all because they're here now. Because they're here in front of you. That's so fast. That's fair. Yeah. Let's do it all at once. Let's just get it done. Speaking of berets. Let's do some berets. They have light blue berets, I believe, in the background. Well, I've got this Space Wolves gray. That should work. That'll do. I also have this. I have Space Wolves gray. This not blue color that I just picked up. Yep. I don't think I have a blue. Well, we'll worry about that later. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what else hype wise is currently happening in the industry. You've certainly got various crowdfunds that are currently going that there isn't one I can think of that's blowing up right now for tabletop. There's no one that's like huge. That's like running away. I'm not really following them. So I'm not either, but like you can't avoid it. If you're just scrolling through your Facebook feed, you're gonna see it as a sponsored link, right? Like that's true. The ones that are blowing up, I think Kickstarter themselves
pays for the sponsored ads, because that's one of the big benefits of Kickstarter, is that they themselves will push the hype train for you, because
Once it starts going,
if it goes gangbusters, if it makes $1 million, it ends up on the Kickstarter front page. Kickstarter themselves start paying to market this thing for you, because it's in their best interest that it goes huge, right? Because one, it gets them more people running Kickstarters because they see a success, and two, it gets them more money because Kickstarter takes a percentage of everything you make, right? So like, there's a certain like inescapability of seeing it. If I'm not even excited about a crowdfund, it'll still end up in my feed, right? Because I'm in a million miniature wargaming like groups on Facebook, and that means that the target advertising just lands right on my feed. Like, there's no way to get around it.
I have heard the statement of like, this is the golden age of miniature games, in that like there are just so many of them right now that are coming out, and so many of them are good. You don't have these like
Well, the product offers are definitely good. I mean, it's because of the influx of people sculpting,
and the ease of which models can be made.
Well, from I think video games, people who are trained in sculpting digitally, and that's literally a thing now that you just translate directly into miniature games. It's very hard to have a bad product offer. You can find somebody out there that for not a lot of money will do beautiful digital models that you can get cast and spun up, or at least display in a crowdfund, as these are the models that we're going to be running off of for whatever it is.
Yeah.
And so you're right in that from the base product line, like offer point of view, it's hard to have a bad product offer right now. I mean, you can still have a bad idea, I guess, but the problem is that you never really get to see what the long-term plan is. There's not a lot of businesses out there right now who are building hype around their product that let you know in 8 months you're going to have this many releases, right?
Because I feel that's the thing with hype, is the follow-up, like the 1-2. It's this is coming, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming.
Here's the offer.
It comes out, and you're like, well, it was all right. Like,
and there's nothing after. If it's one and done, if it's a mass consumable. And then how does it take that leap from, you got a whole bunch of people excited about it, you got a bunch of money, to being a real boy and being on a shelf somewhere in a brick and mortar store? Because I do think that's necessary. If you don't penetrate into the real world, you remain this like ephemeral internet only
something age
thing, right? Like you never get to be on a shelf where someone can see you and people are playing you in real life.
Yeah.
You slowly just fade away. You transition out. There you go.
Yep.
It's painting all these dogs. You're allergic.
I am allergic to dogs.
Are you?
Yeah.
Oh, you poor man. Well, there it is. I think there's no answer to this.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot to say, really. I mean,
it's more about talking about that it exists, because I think that I'm so aware of it. For me, it's about being not caught up in it, right? Yeah. It's about avoiding it, and I think that thing that I said earlier about picking a video game that you've played that's been out for 2 years is true in this as well. There's something to be said about being an early adopter, but at the same time, you might just want to wait. You might just want to wait and see if it's something that people end up playing. Because if you spend time on something if it's an idea you truly love, if it's an IP you truly love, if it's a product that you're really passionate about,
still spend the time.
Then spend the time, because it didn't matter. It won't matter if no one else plays it. You'll be happy with what you got, right? For me, that's Fallout Wasteland Warfare. That's the Song of Ice and Fire game. No matter what happens with these things, like later on down the road, I've gotten to collect and build and paint miniatures that I love, and like I'll find something to do with, no matter what happens, like down the road. But if you're just kind of getting excited about something because everyone in your local meta is getting excited about it, or because it's a really popular crowdfund, it's showing up on your sponsored thing or whatever, just take a step back and pump the brakes.
Yeah, I'd be more worried, like if you want to try and, because I feel like this is draining people and losing the interest. That's what I'm looking at. Because like,
it could be driving people to wargaming.
That's the thing.
Like you spend a bunch of money and you don't enjoy what you spend it on.
Yeah. Is there a fatigue that's creeping in that is like really pervasive? That like who
unacknowledged, unacknowledged, like not really something. Because when you're so full of happiness and excitement about something, it's hard. It's like you're spiking and crashing. The lows are just as bad as the highs, I guess.
Oh my God, these were made for Infinity models.
The contrast paints, isn't it easy? Like, isn't it beautiful?
It's sort of a thing that I worry about when I watch like the 40K stuff.
Yeah.
So like 40K has had, as you say, like every week there's a thing. This is the thing. This is the thing. Right. This is the thing. This is the thing. This is the thing. This is the thing.
Topic du jour.
Can you imagine? And you can, because you're fairly close to it, and so am I. Buying every new release.
Oh, you can't anymore. There used to be a time
how
if you
the
were
hell would you do it?
You can't. No, if you were a Games Workshop hobbyist, there was a time when you would literally buy one of everything that came out. You would get on the hype train, and even if it was a game like Necromunda, you'd buy a gang for it. You'd play a gang, and then when it faded back into whatever the next thing was coming out, you were still happy with that experience.
Yeah,
because it was certainly on a far longer timeline. Releases didn't happen as often; they were more like a monthly release. And when a game came out, they usually spent about 6 months focusing on that game. So like when, let's say Epic Space Marine came out, there was usually 6 months of like Space Marine releases after that you got to follow along with and be excited about and kind of plot along with.
And not even
it
just
jumps
releases.
around. Well, it jumps around so much now because there's so many product lines.
And that's what I mean. That it's not even just the new release. It's the let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Here's a battle report. Here's a like YouTube and stuff has kind of like shouldered the burden that used to be companies doing it, where they're going to talk about like the lore. We're going to release a new supplement about this, and like, yeah, I guess there's Black Library, but you didn't get a Black Library. You did get a Black Library Apocalypse. But like, I don't know. It feels that's all it's going to be. It came out as part of the thing, and then
there's not going to be an Apocalypse novel for Black Library.
You're not going to get a series that's coming out
every month. Well, and there might be a series, but it won't be every month. It'll probably be timed with whatever the next Apocalypse release is. Right. Whatever the next thing is for Apocalypse.
But I just mean, I use that as an example of like a book, but I'm talking about just anything. Just talking about that this other thing still exists and we're still interested in it. But you won't, because you can't talk about that one because you got the new thing coming. And like,
or
we got
even
to
just,
talk about
or
Knights.
even just that you have to spend time on something else. Right? Not even that there's a new thing coming, but that like, if I talk about this for too long, I am leaving fans of Y in the lurch. Like we have to do at least 4 updates a year for Blood Bowl. We have to talk about Necromunda at least 4 times. That you literally have to make time for some of your product lines in between the main product lines, because if you don't, nothing will ever come up for them. They literally would just be one and done. You couldn't do it. And I mean, that is a big business problem. That's a problem that most of these companies that are miniature wargaming don't have, because they don't have as many product lines as that company does. But then it becomes faction hopping. You know what I mean? It's something for my faction didn't come out for X number of months or Y number of months or however long it is. Not something for my game didn't come out for X number of months or Y number of months.
Right.
Because if you only have one game, one product line, there's something new probably whatever your release timeline is. You don't have to wait too long. There's going to be something new. It will come out eventually. But I think that's it. For me, having acknowledged that I see this happening to me, that I get excited about something and it can get away from me, or if I'm focused on the thing that's coming out in the future, I don't enjoy the things I'm working on.
Right.
I just got to pump the brakes, like kind of stick my head in the sand a little bit and not get caught up in it. It's one of the reasons why I don't typically engage with crowdfunds or even really try and look at them, because I can't have it yet. You know what I mean? I'm going to stay excited about the thing I'm currently engaged with and working on, rather than chasing the dragon, if you will, of like the next thing that could be the coolest thing. Because I think that's part of that whole early adopter mindset.
Right.
You know what I mean? You want to be able to say, like, it's that whole thing. It's like, oh, I listen to this band, but you probably never heard of them. You want to be the first to table. You want to be the first to be the person that had an iPad before anybody else, or whatever it ends up being.
Right.
And there's a level of like geek cred, I guess, that goes into that.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, but the thing is like, you get into some of these early adopters and it dies on the vine.
Well, that's it. That's
now
the
you're
risk.
Just out of money.
That's it. That's the risk, or time, because the thing with a miniature wargame, a tabletop wargame, is it's also going to cost you time more than anything else. It's your own investment in the most precious resource, which is I had to sit and build and paint these things.
Nah.
I think in the end it all comes down to dollars versus time. If you enjoyed the time you spent with that thing, then and you managed to stay off like getting distracted by that hype train, you've probably invested your money wisely. If you didn't try and chase sort of like whatever the popular zeitgeist is when the thing that you were playing
came out.
Rules can affect that though too. There's that like wave of popularity with rules. If like a certain army type is really popular.
Yep.
Remember the whole Baldur thing in War Machine, when Baldur was like the most broken thing and everyone was building Baldur armies and griffins and
how many griffins do you have? How many
mad dogs?
Mad dogs do you have? Like whatever the current. I mean, 40K is the beast of that.
Yeah,
like,
it's true.
Until the rule of 3, which didn't solve this problem, it only shifted the problem. It was like, how many flyrants? Okay, well it was like, how many flyers? Well, that didn't work anymore. Right. Well, how about how many assassins? Well, we can't do that anymore. Well, how about flying hive tyrants? Oh, you can't do that anymore. Well, how about Disco Lords flyers and dreadnoughts.
Was
and
that
it's
a picture you sent me? You sent me the picture this week.
Yeah,
actually.
I saw a picture of a guy at an army at the ATC.
Right.
And it was just like 3 Disco Lords, 3 of 2 different types of dragons, or 3 of 2 different types of dreadnoughts,
dragons,
and then 3 Helldrakes.
And they're all forgeful dreadnoughts too. They were like Dorados and Contemptors.
Yeah.
It was just bajillions of those guys.
And you're like, wow, we've done it. We've stopped the spam, everybody. High five. We're going home.
Yeah. I think it was like Spearhead, Vanguard, Flyer Wing.
Whatever it was. Like, the point of the story, though, was that, like, this was somebody who's like, this is the thing that's good right now, so I'm going to get my hands on it so I can play the good thing right now.
Yeah, because they weren't even matching paint jobs either. They were like
he
differently painted
he did borrow some stuff. Like, he had said that he had borrowed.
Yeah, but it was 3 differently painted dragons. Like, I was just saying, it wasn't an army built for the purpose of, I'm enjoying building this army. It was an army built for the purpose of, I am here to...
win.
Yeah. I'm here to destroy whoever is across from me, and that's it. Looking pretty good.
The brown boots was the way to go.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, that's really good. Well, we're gonna put a picture up. We'll put a picture up on social media tomorrow morning at some point of what gets done while we're sitting here chatting. But I think we've pretty much put our point of view.
I guess I'll say I haven't said my stance on being hyped. I'm super jaded when it comes to any of these things coming out. I don't like almost any new release for things anymore until they've already come out. Like,
right.
Miniature games are one of those things that you're gonna, like, as you said, there's a huge investment in it, your time, your money, whatever. Like, however you're gonna measure what you got your success, like whether you won events, what made you happy about it. That, like, I don't have the patience to wait for something to come out for it. Like, if I can buy it and we got it and I'm doing it and I'm doing the thing I want to do, like, I got this on a whim, basically. Like,
you do tend to be subversive, though. You enjoy winning with the thing no one is currently winning with.
But
that is a challenge to you, though.
Sure,
and it does back up your preference there if it's all out already. It's how can I take the things that people don't see value? It's the Oakland Athletics Moneyball trick of people don't see value in these things. I'm going to make them have value.
But even a game that doesn't exist yet, like there isn't that. It's just like, I want to play this new game. Okay, can I go buy them? Well, the Kickstarter will be putting them out in 6 months.
Right.
Okay, well then I don't care.
I don't care. Yeah, it's not real until it's real.
Until I can go down to my shop and my shop actually has it. Like,
it kind of immunizes you against that hype.
It has killed almost entirely my interest in A Song of Ice and Fire.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care anymore. I didn't care about any of the releases after I couldn't get them anymore. Because I'm like...
You had momentum, and then that momentum...
I was playing this, it was interesting. It started stagnating a bit because it was like, there's only 5 unit types. That's not a lot. Like, yeah, there's a lot of potential interactions, but I could roll the dice and there's a lot of potential interactions. Like, the models aren't doing it.
Right.
But if it comes to, like, the new release that's coming, just don't buy in right away. Like, hold off. And then if you really want to get into it, if you're going to do that, like, cost-benefit analysis, do that first. Like, that's how I would look at it.
How many hours of enjoyment am I going to get from this based on what I'm going to be spending? And that's different for everybody. There's no right answer for that. Like, it's different for me than it is different from you. Because I'm a Toy Soldiers First guy. You're how big a puzzle is this guy typically?
I need a game. I need a hobby thing. Like, I need a challenge to play through.
You need a mental exercise more than anything else. From the time I've spent with you, it's that if you're not challenged by what you're doing, if it doesn't give you a big
if it can't get over the 2 or 3 opening stress tests of, like, well, if I bring 10...
If one's good, 10's better.
Yes, it is the Dreadnought solution. Dreadnoughts aren't good. What are you talking about? 9 Dreadnoughts are great. And they've been great for every edition.
If I just take enough of something, it'll be fantastic.
Yeah.
What is undervalued? Well, again, that's your thing of what is undervalued. What is the thing that people don't see enough value in, and can I take lots of them, and then does it work or not? But multiple iterations and multiple, like, interactions and stuff tends to be your...
But as far as
I see you get more interested in something, if it has more than just a surface test of complexity.
But as far as new releases are concerned, it's why I can't jump into them. I can't be like, this is gonna be awesome. Like, even the Shazvasti stuff, like, I'm pretty excited for it, but I'm like, I don't know. The models are coming and they're all right. Like, they're definitely amazing sculpts and they're great, but they're samey. And it's hurting me on that one. Like, I can't... what would have been a miniature buy-in is no longer a miniature buy-in. Now it's going to be a painting thing to try and get over that.
Right.
Hopefully the gameplay can carry it. The rules kind of exist already. We'll see. And so now I'm waiting for it to come out. But I'm not like, this is going to be awesome.
Right.
we'll see. I mean, maybe I play it and it feels good to play because that's what it is that's deciding
it's
it.
different. Yeah.
Yeah.
Different.
Well, even a challenge isn't enough. Sometimes it's like, is the feeling there? That was my talk earlier today. Was just like, can you create a thing that feels like what it's supposed to be?
Yeah.
You can make mechanics around things, sure, but like, does your assassin man feel like an assassin man?
Like
do they go in?
He's sneaking up and killing
He's
somebody.
sneaking and he's killing a guy,
Infinity's
or is it just
really good at that though? Infinity, the complexity of Infinity, I think, lends itself really well to it feeling like you the cinematic event is taking place when you're rolling the dice.
Yes.
Right. Your rules for things like TO camo and how that interacts with melee and how it interacts with like monofilamental weapons, and like the super unkillable thing is all of a sudden just like sliced open from underneath before it can even see something coming. It evokes a feeling.
For sure.
But I think you get there by focusing on what you like as opposed to the hype. You know what I mean? As opposed to the sort of like group think of this is going to be great because X, or even just because it's new. New isn't necessarily right for you. You know what I mean? New isn't necessarily right for any individual. And so I guess the cautionary tale here is if you're really passionate about something, be passionate about it, not be passionate about the like excitement surrounding it, I guess. Because we do live in an age where
you can generate hype real fast.
Well, we are being manipulated by algorithms and the internet into seeing things that the predictive, like mathematics have said we are probably going to click on. And there is a constant barrage of those things. That
you're one step away from like measuring your eye movements to like get the idea of what it is that'll draw your attention. Like you're not far from that.
And so
just be cautious.
If you love something for what it is, then continue to like enjoy that for as long as you can, and don't be dissatisfied with something just because there's something else new and shiny, I guess, that comes along. It almost makes you need to unplug.
Maybe that's
my advice would be spend more time playing the game rather than being online talking about the game or listening to podcasts.
That's it. Turn it off.
Turn it off.
Turn it off.
With that, turn it off. Happy organic.